Okay, it is August the 12th here in Zone 7A, North Carolina. It's been quite a while since I've filmed the garden tour update, so I'll try to keep this one shorter than my last marathon one, which was over 2 hours, so hopefully I can get this in under 1 hour. I'm a pollinator gardener. Well, we'll just start over here on this one since it's where I wound up on my pan. This is a dwarf form of Joe Pieweed. Baby Joe is the name of it. Eupatorium, I think, is the technical name. Right down here at the bottom is a foxglove, which is primarily a biennial. This particular plant and a couple of other ones are going to wind up being a triennial. Most of them have already bloomed and went by the wayside. This particular one didn't bloom, so I think it's going to live till next year, bloom next year. Okay, I complained a lot in my last video about the lack of pollinators, but which that was a June video. Here in August, they have shown up in full force. So really, mainly the last week of July, they showed up. So I'll have to keep that in mind, that they are just very late here. We have a swallowtail butterfly. I'll trim it till it flies off. There we go. And this is one reason my videos are so long, because I'm just showing stuff. But the Joe Pieweed, the dwarf Joe Pieweed, Baby Joe, is really pretty much at its peak right at the moment. This makes it attracting lots of pollinators. Here is the Verbena bonariensis, been attracting lots of pollinators, mainly butterflies, but bees too. Yeah, if you're gonna plant a pollinator garden, do plant the Verbena bonariensis. I was a little bit skeptical because it was sort of highly touted as a pollinator plant. I figured it was oversold as one, but no, it does very, very well. So you have to have a lot of Verbena bonariensis if you do a pollinator garden. Next year, there's a version, kind of a medium-sized version called Verbena bonariensis Meteor Showers, which I might try next year because you can put a lot of it in a small space, and if it does on a per bloom basis, like what this stuff here does, yeah, you could really feed a lot of hungry butterflies. And primarily we've got the black swallowtails and the pale yellow tiger swallowtails, and of course with tons and tons of silver spotted skippers. And the years past we have had quite a few buckeyes, however very few buckeyes this year for some reason or another. Okay, let's move on. Like I say, I'm going to try to do better. Right here, okay, right here was all kind of catmint, not catmint, but Monarda and Fistulosa. I think it was Fistulosa, sort of a pale purplish. And I cut it all down after it just went over, just finished up, and this is what's left of it here, and it will be back in full force next year. I'm confident of that, because last year at this time of year, this is kind of what it looked like, and it was huge this year. So there you go. This is some Show Creek Vitex, which I like the Show Creek Vitex. It's kind of a shrub slash tree type of plant. Like I said, I'm not going to go into great detail about all these. I did that in my last video. If I gloss over something and you say, why didn't you say more about that? Well, look at my last marathon video there. So this is Helenium right here. This is Mardi Gras Helenium. Kind of been a bust pollinator wise. I may wind up pulling it out. But just for, I mean, you know, nothing wrong with it. It's just, you know, you only got so much space, and you hate something taking up space that is not doing the job you want it to do. Even this blanket flower here hasn't really attracted that many pollinators, although it is pretty. I'll grant you that. Right in here, I don't know how this will do. This is a Luna hibiscus, hardy hibiscus. Needs to be watered, it looks like. but don't know how it'll do. I don't think it has this. It don't have the huge dinner plate type of blooms like Midnight Marvel, Mars Madness, Hardy Hibiscus. Although, you know, I've got each one of those, and we form on them. No pollinator activity on them. It's just more of a thing. Oh, look at that huge bloom. So yeah, right here is a Miss Molly semi-dwarf butterfly bush. Right now that one's only about 2 foot tall. It's supposed to get 4 or 5 foot tall, but I'm hoping it will because it's a little small. But I like the sangria colored blooms on that. It's kind of a different color than the normal butterfly bush. Here's a guara plant, and I don't know what happened to my guara plant this year. It just, you know, it's not a pollinator plant really. Mine's never been, but I keep one. I justify keeping one just because when the wind blows it's so pretty. And here we have what in times past has been a great pollinator plant, a Coreopterus. This is just a midnight black knight Coreopterus. I've got numerous of these, and in the past they've done really, really well. This has just started to bloom. I don't think that too many things have found it yet. There's a, you know, you can't really see it, but I do have a bee or two on it right now. Here is a cardinal flower. The hummingbirds love the cardinal flower. Down in there is a turtlehead, by the way, just starting to open up. So the bumblebees haven't had their fun with it yet, trying to pry it open. But this just came up on its own, this cardinal flower. So I'm happy about that. Happy about it coming up on its own. I've had one in another bed for a while, and so the seed made it over here and it started. Right here is a black knight butterfly bush planted just this year. I was hoping the panicles would be longer on it. I think when it gets bigger they will be, because in the pictures you see on it the panicles are much longer than what you're seeing here. And we've got Crocosmia lucifer, which continues to spread, and I'm going to let it keep spreading. I never have really figured out yet, even after reading, whether it's best to trim these spent bracts back after they finish blooming. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Right over here is well, this has been the super duper pollinator plant, of course. So the African blue basil, planted it, just an annual, planted just from a small little 3-inch pot this year, and they just grow like crazy. Winter pollinators on it, bees and bumblebees and carpenter bees, and little bitty bees that I have no clue what they are, but they're there. Dozens of varieties, I think, is on this thing from day to day. Okay, that's kind of the quick version of that garden there. We'll move over here to the main garden beside the house. This is your Zowie yellow flame, even though you call it yellow, it's kind of orange. Well, a lot of it is orange. Zowie yellow flame zinnia, which is good pollinator wise. And one thing I like about this plant here, although you do have to keep it watered every day or it'll wilt down. We've had a couple of windstorms and it has held up like you would not believe without it being staked, which over here in the main garden, I've got some zinnia cottage red, red beauty is the name of these, and I've had to stake quite a few of them because they'll just fall over. And right here is a cottage red marigold, and it was twice this tall, and it got splattered out by a windstorm so much that I just cut it in half. And it's actually coming back out, and you know, it's got a couple of blooms, and I think it's going to have like a large flush of blooms on it. It's just now starting to bloom, and I think it's going to bud up because the foliage is drastically improved from what it was. Here's our Mexican heather, just tons and tons of smallish pollinators on it, plus carpenter bees, of course. And maybe not right now, but generally speaking. Right here we've got our autumn joy sedum that everybody has. Great pollinator plant. Right here is something that's first year I've planted it. There's 3 plants in here. Pineapple sage. And yes, if you rub the foliage, it does sort of smell like pineapples. And it's supposed to send out, you know, some spikes, some long red spikes with flowers on it that the hummingbirds dearly love. And you see, this is the middle of August, close to the middle of August, and my hummingbirds will be gone probably the first week of October, I think, is when they left last year, maybe the second week of October. So it needs to get busy and do something, so they'll have something to snack on until then. Okay, moving on here. All right, this is something new. This is a Miss Kim lilac bush. They're reasonably healthy looking. Yeah, I buy a lot of my plants, and I gave it some protection because it was so little. I didn't want kind of a somewhat expensive plant to be nibbled on by anything or flattened by the squirrels, which happens. The squirrels get to playing with each other, and they're just on top of everything. And they just break crumbs out of everything I have practically. Here's the Nanho purple butterfly bush. That's new this year. The old 20-year-old plant finally just gave up with this. Right here is a different kind of Caryopteris. That's why I see right back here is the standard one I plant, which comes from Lowe's, the Dark Knight. That's a couple years old in there. And, you know, it's been a reliable Caryopteris, and attracted a lot of pollinators and all. And this one here is much, and these, when you buy these, they come in a large container and they bloom the first year, and they have lots of pollinators the first year. This one here, I had to order this online, Grand Blue. I forget the exact botanical name, but Grand Blue, B-L-E-U, and it's pretty healthy looking, and maybe starting to bud up just a bit there on top. So yeah, doing pretty good. I can't complain. I got 2 of those. Here is the St. John's wort, or Hyperium higcoat. It did bloom this year. Did not attract the pollinators I was hoping it would. It takes up a lot of space. It's on probation. So that's about all I can say. I've got a lot of plants of that. So I'm going to give it a full opportunity to attract some pollinators, but I'm kind of skeptical. Here are and if you look on, I mentioned this last video, if you look on YouTube, you'll see some of this stuff where the bees, or bumblebees, honeybees, are just swimming inside the little, you know, the next little buttercup looking yellow blooms. And they're just swimming in the pollen, but I can't really take that much pollen in mine. All right, here is my arbor, which I have to bend down when I go through it, Carolina jessamine. Usually it blooms yellow if the frost doesn't get it in the spring, which so far it does just about every year get it to a certain extent. Right here is I've got numerous of these. This one just got moved over here, the Sonic Bloom Pink Weigelia, and they do, it has bloomed before, and I think it will wind up doing pretty good. Pollinator wise, I've not ever noticed any activity when it was blooming. Same here on this mango, yellow mango popsicle Nyphophia. No pollinators. More Nanho purple. Another St. John's wort bush here. Here is a vanilla spice clethra. And of the the clethra I have, vanilla spice, ruby spice, and I think 16 candles, maybe, a dwarf variety. This one has actually outperformed pollinator-wise any of them. And it'll get quite a bit bigger than this. This is only like 2 foot tall, maybe. Right over here is an Astilbe, which 0 pollinator-wise, but it's found such a nice home here, a combination of shade and sun, that when the plants are really super happy, I hate to move it, even though it's not performing. I will on occasion, but I hate to, and I'm going to leave that one. And more Verbena bonariensis. Here we have just a wee bit. It did bloom this year. Just a wee bit of milkweed, the Asclepias tuberosa right there. However, something happened that it did not form any seed heads on it. I don't know why, but on this one here, this Asclepias incarnata, it did form seed heads, but I had such a trouble with the aphids and stuff. They wound up kind of destroying the seed heads even. This is the Midnight Marvel dinner plate. No, this is not Midnight Marvel. This is Mars Madness, and it has had numerous blooms on it. Here's what a spent one looks like right there. Yeah, they get like huge, like 10 inches across or something. That was already spent. There's some buds, pollinator wise, not so good. Okay, moving on. Here is really a huge specimen of this turtle head. Usually most people's online have not seen any quite this large. This one here is 3 foot tall and has a 2.5 foot spread, I guess, on it. And just starting to open up like I showed on the other one. And right here is some sage, some kind of sage. I don't know, maraschino cherry. It's bloomed quite a bit. It's a little bit too much sun. I showed this the last video. It really wasn't blooming. The males, something or other, Stokesia, zero pollinator wise. Supposedly Stokesia is a native plant, which you would think it would be good pollinator wise. This is a cultivar, of course. That could be the reason why it's not done all that well pollinator wise. Right here I've got Sunny, now this is already past its peak, Sunny Blue Border Veronica Speedwell. Now that's a mouthful. There's a little section here which has actually done very well, and a little section here, and my main section, like I say, it's already gone over a long time ago, but it has absolutely bloomed its little heart out. I highly recommend the Sunny Blue Border Speedwell. It's just long-lasting blooms that the pollinator really enjoy. Another Coreopterus here. There's my wisteria, which I'm not sure much of it. This is an Amethyst Falls. It's a total mess. Right here is the Red Beauty Zinnia, which highly recommend pollinator wise. You will have to stake this. I think probably if you mid-season, if you came and chopped it in half, you'd be better off. I think you would have probably more blooms and it would be shorter and you wouldn't have to stake it. It just seems like that kind of plant. Don't quote me on that. You'll just have to look it up maybe. But yeah, I've got quite a bit of it, and the butterflies have super enjoyed it. Everything's enjoyed it. Bees, butterflies, hummingbirds, all have partaken of it. Here I have just a lot of these cigar plants, which the hummingbirds have super enjoyed, and I think they would like them even better if they get nectar robbed by the bumblebees. I've watched them. They don't go into the end of the blossom. They'll go to the base of the blossom, which kind of damages the blossom. And so I think that kind of degrades the blossoms for the hummingbirds. But they have so many of them that it's still good. It's still all good. And right here we have a Salvia amistad. Which is, I just got it in the pot. It's an annual. It's kind of a semi-hardy type annual, tender perennial. It'll probably die out in the first frost. If you was zone 8 or zone 9, it might come back. I think I just don't quote me on that, but it won't here at 7, 8. I've got a couple of these. And here is some, oh, let me show you over here. This is Cleome. And this right here, I've had Cleomes here for 20 years. They always self-seed. They've moved around to various parts of the garden during that period of time. This is 2 or 3 plants, whatever you want to call it, right here. But this has been my most successful Cleome plants ever. And they're pollinated by a little bit by stuff. They have to be, because as you can see, all those little sprouts that you see all around it, that's seeds, and it comes back from seeds, so something had to pollinate them. But anyway, if you'll look here at the base of this thing, and by the way, this thing it's 5 foot tall. It's close to 5 foot tall, and it came up just in this crack, right there. Just came right out of the crack. A couple of different plants, and I debated whether I said to myself, will that grow there? And I said, probably not, but I'm leaving it anyway. And best one I've ever had. So there you go. Right here, I did have something else here that kind of burned out. I'll show you the other type plant here in a little while, a different specimen of it. This is more of the Capilla cigar type plant. However, this is a named cultivar here. The other one, I guess it's just a native species. I don't know, but this one here is the cultivar of the vermilion. I wanted to get this to see if really there was any difference in this named cultivar and the other plants, what they call generic term cigar plant. So far, I mean, it's darker foliage a little bit, maybe a little bit darker blooms. As far as pollinator wise, I don't think there's much difference. I can't really speak to the size because this is a young plant. And all my old ones, such as this, are much older plants. But it seems to me like the foliage over there is darker. It could just be that it's a newer plant. But I figured the blooms would be noticeably larger, which really they're not. They could be slightly darker. But the jury's still out on that. So far, I don't see a big reason to spend extra money for this named cultivar versus the other plants if you can get the other ones a little bit cheaper. Okay, I've probably got other things I can show you here, but I really do need to move on to make this shorter. Okay, we go out here to the side garden, and by the way, this is the what I had in the kettle out there where the vermilion air was, and it kind of, see, this is part shade right here. This is, I'll put it up across the bottom. This is Sun City Santa Cruz begonia, and it's been just a huge successful story looks wise, but zero pollinator wise. I won't be planting this next year. It takes up too much room for the zero pollination, but man, it looks great. Supposedly it performs. It's a tuberous begonia, so supposedly it forms tubers that you can save and plant. Right down here is what will be here next year, hopefully. And this is the beginning stages of a vine, well, they call it hummingbird vine, but it's just an orange looking vine. I can't remember the name of it, but they call it hummingbird vine. So I got one there, and over there. Okay, moving on. This is we'll call this the eastern garden, southeastern garden, and which pollinator wise, butterfly wise, here in the last week or two, been a huge success. The biggest thing in this particular bed here is two things. I've probably got 19 or 20 Verbena bonariensis and about a dozen Mexican sunflower, and it's not quite as sunny as it is some days when it's like really sunny and really hot. The butterflies are, I mean, it's just covered up, but you do see a few here, I'm sure, but it's done really well. I've been pleased with it. It's been fairly low maintenance, and it's been a very interesting type garden here this year. We got a few extra plants in it. This is resting. It's I'll put it up along the bottom, but it's a nicer foliage than most of these plants after the blooms get spent on it. So that's a good thing. Right here is another one of the African blue basils right there. African blue basil, some pretty much spent scabiosa, pincushion plants. And this here, I showed it last time. It looks like my rabbits have found it. This is a bottle brush plant, some kind of winter hardy type bottle brush plant. Just the rabbits are just killing me here on some plants. This here, I took this out of a pot. This will die this winter in all likelihood. This is a Pride of Madeira Echium. That's what that is. And of course, there's an older lilac. It's kind of nondescript. And here's a canna lily, which almost died last year, and so I moved it out here where it'd be in ground that maybe doesn't freeze, so it's done reasonably well. And here's a few pepper plants which haven't done too much. I may try bringing one of these inside since they're kind of small. This is my echinacea. I've got a dozen plants, and this is a good example of them. Echinacea versus rabbit. Yep, the rabbits will win every single time. So there you go. All right, let's move on here. And here's like a dozen of these St. John's wort. There's no way I'm going to leave that many of them here. But that will fill in and make a solid mass 3 foot tall if I left them there, which would be okay if they were better pollinator wise, which it doesn't seem to be. Right over here, I dug out a stump, and the plant doesn't look like much because this is an Anthony Waterer Spirea plant. Doesn't look like much because it was just a $5 plant from Lowe's that was in the dead plant pile. Basically the bargain that was in the bargain bin. I'm going to let it, I'm not going to trim it back this year. I'll trim it back after it starts to sprout next spring, and it should flush out and look really nice. And that up there is a fringe tree, fringe bush, dazzleberry, razzleberry, something like that. It's kind of right at the moment it's low down. There was a stump here too, but yeah, it's really healthy these days. So kind of like that, and it'll get several feet tall, several foot wide, and fuzzy pink reddish type of flowers on it. Okay, moving on around here to one of my, I just love that Pride of Madeira Echium. It's just a shame it really won't grow here. I will try to protect it this winter, but I don't think it's going to do anything. I've had it inside for 2 years, and it just got too big, so I had to go out. Okay, moving on. These dead things up here, they're not 100% dead, but they're on their way. Grapevines. In a 2-week period this year, we had 22 inches of rain, and then in a 5-day period this year we had 11 inches of rain, and I think that this is the result of that. Just too much water. That's all there are to it. The ones on this side, however, fared a little bit better, although they really are not thriving. Right up here in this bed that's in the center, we have three of the silent bloom pink Weigelias, and I've resisted the urge to put the annuals all around it. However, I did move them out a little farther. These two small ones, I moved them out, so I am going to, in the very center, I'm going to put a baptisia and just see how it goes with the baptisia in the center and the sonic boom ringing around the edges of the baptisia. Right here is the blue boa Augustache. Bar none, the biggest pollinator success story of the year. It's gone over a little past its prime, but the blue boa Augustache has outperformed everything this year, including the much vaunted blackadder Augustache. And the blackadder does really well. I mean, it's hard to beat blackadder, but I tell you what, the blue boa beats it. Hands down beats it. It's just really no contest. It's still advisable to plant both, however, because the blackadder comes in just a little bit later, so it extends your season. But as you can see, there's still quite a bit of pollinator activity going on here on the blue boa. I cannot recommend the blue boa highly enough. Mainly this bed here is the Augustache and sage bed, low maintenance bed. Right there in the center of the frame is a fairly bad looking Russian sage. I never have done well with Russian sage here. Probably going to have to just put them in a pot and put like super draining soil in it to ever have any decent Russian sage. Here's a Maynite salvia. And actually this is the best specimen of Maynite salvia I've ever had, so I've had not too much luck with it in the past because all of the salvia numerosas, and see this is in the salvia numerosa family, all of them in this area eventually will have one of those 20-inch 3-week rains, and they'll just evaporate. They'll come back and they'll get looking good, and then we'll have another monsoon for a week or two and it'll knock them back again. It's just not conducive to healthy looking salvia numerosa plants, but I'll keep trying. And this is the hot lips salvia right here. You can't really tell much. There's just a hint of red on it. Earlier in the year there was more red on it. So as time goes on, I'm going to put a few extra things in this bed. It's a little bit too monotone. That's a little bit too monotone to suit me, to tell the truth of the matter. It's just, they don't have enough variety, although some people like this sort of thing. Here's my lavender here. This is, I don't know, it just says, I grew it from seed, it said true lavender. And pollinator-wise, nothing yet, but no wonder it hadn't had hardly any blooms yet. So there you go. And right here in the center is, these are butterfly bushes, of course. So far I'm liking these. These are a dwarf / semi-dwarf butterfly bush called, it's the Buzz series. This is purple, and this came from Walmart. And this is the only, they've had them 2 years in a row, and this is the only ones I've ever seen there, but they have different colors. And I may, judging by how these look and how they're doing pollinator-wise, I may send off and get some different colors of this. Right here, with the red bells, is a type of penstemon. This is the arabesque penstemon. So far, the pollinators haven't took a liking to it very much. Those silver skippers you see back there on some of the Augustache. You can ask me what kind of Augustache that is, but some kind. It's not hot lips, and it's not maraschino cherry. It's something else. So you can see them back in the background there. I need to figure out what kind that is, because I've got quite a bit of it. Okay, here we go with the blackadder Augustache. Heretofore, before this year, when I discovered the blue boa, I was more enamored of this than I am now, but I still like it. Like I say, plant both. Plant blackadder and blue boa. The blue boa will come in first, and it's a little shorter. Have it closer to the front of the border, and this one back in, it's just slightly taller, not much, but just slightly. And back here is some more Show Creek Vitex. The bumblebees get on the blooms a little bit. I think if this was the only thing here, the only thing around, there goes one right now. They would hit it harder, but they just have so much other choices that they're not hitting it that much. There's another butterfly bush. I think that's a black knight. Okay, that's pretty much it. This is some stuff I grew from seed. I forget the name of it. It's one of the few sages. It's either sage or which. Indigo, something indigo, or indigo something. All right, that's pretty much it. I've only got one other thing to show here on this video. So if you will follow me, I think I am doing a little bit better. I certainly have not hit everything, but that was not my intention here on this video. This here, oh, by the way, this is the veggie garden, which the okra is looking really, really good this year. Everything else was, with all the rain we had, was just kind of problematic, but I just sort of pan over on the okra as I walk by. It's the only thing that's looking good right at the moment. Yeah, that's right. I'm gonna have more okra than anybody could eat right there. Okay, down here on this fence, which it was just a total grown-up mess, and for a year and a half I've had in pots some New England native asters, and I can't believe they did as good as they did in the pots. I mean, they didn't die. By doing good, I mean they did not die in a year and a half and did not really get root bound, but I've got 4 clumps of them on each side here, and this of course is sumac, which I'm going to leave that sumac there, because for a short period of time every year it blooms out and the bees go bananas over. But I don't know what color these will be. I'm sure part or all of them will be purple, probably some whites, probably just purple and white. But anyway, these are supposed to get right around anywhere between 3 and 6 foot tall, and I figured that maybe they'll need this fence for support. But I've got 4 of them on each side here. I may wind up getting something and putting on the end, maybe a yellow baptisia from the same outfit. I'm getting the purple baptisia, which, if you've never heard of it, it's a great looking website anyway, called Plant Delights. PlantDelights.com. I mean, they have like tons and tons of just rare and unusual plants, and they're out of Raleigh. So I'm going to recommend them, even though I've never ordered anything from them until just recently, and it's not come in yet. So anyway, okay, that is pretty much it here from Zone 7, North Carolina, here on August 12th. And I think I did manage to keep it maybe under an hour, unless and I think I did maybe manage to keep it under an hour. Okay, bye everybody.